Hey folks, welcome to Friday, and we are already marching forward and concluding the first day of trading for Humbl under HMBL. Friday, March 26th. Welcome to Money and Politics. We're going to be going over a couple of things today, and I think this is going to be an important episode, so I'd like you to not only pay attention, but on YouTube, where I presume you're all watching this on YouTube, I think. On YouTube, you can save videos that you want. And I think this might be one you might want to save. And you ought to save those where we talk about, I think, trading ideas and some important concepts. And this is going to be one of those episodes where we talk about some important things. So first of all, just to get out of the coverage of what happened today on the first day of trading for Humbl, kind of a, nothing day. We ended up, as you can see, it says 369. I think that's right. Actually, Yahoo had a little bit of trouble getting the right price here for a while, but it didn't really matter too much. We were at 4. We ended at 369. Forwardly was down a bit. Oils went up. I'm going to go over these kind of quickly here. And you can see at 126 yesterday, it dipped. I hate when this bounces around. Yesterday, it dipped down to about 112 briefly and then closed up 126. And remember right now, this is not the important part of what we're going to be talking about today, but also there is a ship that is stuck in the Suez Canal in Egypt. And that is causing all kinds of consternation in the oil market. The idea that oil would have gone down here is kind of silly. And but yet, let me tell you, in my opinion, the markets frequently make silly moves. So we didn't have a big deal in Humbl. We didn't have really a big deal in Forwardly. Nothing that I'm going to be concerned about. We had high tide go to 67 cents. The thing I wanted to bring up about high tide, which is the marijuana Canadian company, look at the news here. High tide opens its 80th cannabis retail store in Burlington, Ontario. Then a little bit below that, and this is from yesterday, High Tide opens 2 new stores in underserved Calgary neighborhoods. I kind of like how they say that. High Tide opens its first retail store in Canmore, if I'm saying that right, Alberta, and appoints a chief operating officer. So the major point there I wanted to point out is that we are getting a lot of movement on High Tide, just to cover that. Okay, so yesterday we talked, let me, as long as I'm reviewing, let me bring up, this is the chart on the 20-year Treasury, and it's a leveraged short. So it's going to go as interest rates go up, bonds will fall, and this investment, TTT, will go up in value as the 20-year bonds go down. And they go down because interest rates are going to rise, and I think that's a given. Where it, as I say, historically low interest rates, and we're spending money like money grows on trees. Certainly within the United States, we're spending it that way, and so interest rates are going to go up. So this is something I think you might see this double within 3 years, which would give you about a 33% a year return, right? So there you go. This that's the TTT. All right, so now moving on. I wanted to bring up, yesterday I spoke to you about Cathy Wood had talked, and for those of you who don't know, Cathy Wood is the head of ARK Capital, ARK Investing, and I don't have her exact title in front of me, but she is one of the most notable money managers, certainly of the last several years. And what she said, and I paraphrased her yesterday, but I wanted to show her your actual comments. And by the way, this is these videos. I'm going to show you 3 clips. These videos are courtesy of the Chicago Board of Exchange that put on a nice discussion yesterday. But let me play this, and then I want to, and this is the part where I'm saying to hear what Cathy Wood is saying. I want you to note this and remember what she's saying, because we're going to be peering into the future, at least from her vantage point, and I'll follow up with it. Let's take a listen to what she has to say here.
We believe that over the next 5 to 10 years, we will see more innovation than we ever have in history. You have to go back to the early 1900s, telephone, electricity, automobile, to get even a sense of what's about to happen here. We have 5 major innovation platforms involving 14 different technologies that include DNA sequencing, robotics, especially collaborative robots, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology.
So those are the areas that she sees the revolutionary change coming. And as she said, blockchain, and that comes back to Humbl. So Humbl, as I was saying yesterday, is part of this revolution. Now, that doesn't guarantee by itself that Humbl is going to go up. You know, the company that we're buying into has to execute. I think they will. I think they have a good management team. I think they can, as they grow, add to their management team and hire more people. And certainly if you're in the blockchain technology category, industry, for lack of a better term, you're going to look at Brian Foote, and I don't think anyone's going to look at Brian Foote as being some ne'er-do-well who doesn't know what he's talking about. So I think Humbl has, it's a lot of investing is like surfing. I've referenced before, I referenced yesterday, I was in the printing business in the 1980s. And at one point I realized that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I saved and put it back into the business, no matter how well I tried to manage that business, I knew I was on the wrong side of history. And as I said yesterday, when I sold my business in July of '89, I didn't even know that the internet, I never heard of the internet. I never knew that was going to come. And by the way, on that point, let me add another important point. I'm a news guy. I am one of the most informed people that I know because I work at being informed. I did that before I went into the news business. And for the last 25 to 30 years, I've been officially in the news business. I had never heard of the internet before I bumped into it in grad school when I was going to grad school in Washington, D.C. In 1992. The fact that the news media missed the internet, largely missed it, is shocking, because that is certainly one of the biggest stories of the last 100 years. I think most people would agree with that. And so if they can miss a story like the internet, what else are they missing? And this is where I'm talking to you today, the story. How many people out there have never heard of Humbl? A lot have missed that story. And the other thing, how many people out there don't know who Cathy Wood is? Doesn't know what you just heard about these 5 areas of concentration, these revolutionary changes. So not only does Cathy Wood say we are having these 5 areas of development, robotics and blockchain and artificial intelligence. I might add to that augmented reality and the others that she mentioned. But listen to this clip as she talks about how these are going to come together and are coming together simultaneously.
When you have 5 major platforms converging, the kind of disruption you're going to see is one S-curve feeding another is pretty explosive. In fact, I've tried to ask people, how do we describe the magnitude of what is about to happen? Think of waves, powerful waves in a storm, interacting with one another. The traditional world order is going to change. Beware, value, yes, there are some great value stocks out there, but a lot of value stocks are in harm's way. We believe that more than 50% of the S&P 500 is going to be impacted dramatically by all of these changes.
And again, that video courtesy of the Chicago Board of Exchange for the panel discussion they put on that. Again, that was Cathy Wood with ARK Investing. And she has a number of ETFs if you want to buy into some of her ETFs that she has put this together. She has something like 4 or 5 of them now. AKK, AKG, anyway. I don't want to go into them and misstate them, but she has one on the human genome and one on technologies. And, feel free to obviously go and take a look at those. And one last thing that I would say. So she's, what she and also Kevin O'Leary, who's on Shark Tank, was also part of that. What both she and Kevin O'Leary were saying is, just as we had the change from the horse and buggy era with the automobile coming out and electricity and the telephone, and she was just mentioning that we are today historically in a period of change as dramatic as it was in the early 1900s, when we had all of those technologies coming out simultaneously. And look at the businesses that they wiped out. And that's what's going to happen. They wiped out the horse and buggy business. They wiped out, by and large, the blacksmith shops, the stables, all of these businesses that centered around the horse being the mode of transportation. Now, what else did they do? Well, they created a whole lot of new jobs in different technologies, and those companies, the people that got off the farm and went to work in these new companies, whether it was automobile making or the electric company or whatever, they ended up making a lot more money, and it added to the productivity of America, and that meant better wages. And that's why America has continued to grow in wealth over the last 100 and something years. Folks, if I wrote about making money, and I often think I will do a book on this, one of the things that's just true, it's not my idea, but I want you to know about it. Productivity equals wealth. As I often say, who works harder, the farmer that plowed a 40-acre field walking behind a mule, or the farmer that is plowing his field in an air-conditioned cab that is being guided by GPS? Well, we know who works harder. It's the farmer behind the mule plowing 40 acres. But you know what? Who is more productive? And the farmer that's plowing 1,000 acres by himself in that cab is more productive than the guy working hard. And so we don't get paid to work hard. We get paid more money to be productive. We get more money to be productive. And technology, at least over the last 100 years, has leveraged the labor of mankind to allow us to be more productive. We certainly see that in the internet. We see it what I'm doing, being able to talk to you. We see it in just a host of ways. And so as long as we have productivity going up, that is going to create wealth in the United States and frankly around the world. Humbl is also a part of that. When you have these bad transactional relationships in second and third world countries, that holds down the productivity of those nations and the ability of those citizens in Colombia, in Ecuador, in Bolivia, Mexico, etc. It holds down their ability to build their businesses and get customers. Humbl is part of a revolutionary change that is now taking place in the world. So while we get excited and we look at the charts, while we get excited about making money, I want you to understand the bigger picture. I'm trying to give you this 40,000 foot view of what's happening here. This is not just about buying a stock that was 20 cents in January and seeing it go up and, doing this, which I'm doing it too. Hey, I love making money and I want to make more and I want you to make more. I also want you to understand where we're going as a world and these changes, because I also don't want you to be buying things that are going to get wiped out. Now, what I started to say is Kevin O'Leary and Cathy Wood were saying in this revolutionary change that before, where you could just buy the indexes like the S&P 500, that a lot of those companies in the S&P 500 are going to be severely damaged by the coming revolutionary changes. Suppose that we had in the S&P 500, which we don't, but let's say they had a company that made VHS tapes. Well, you can imagine when the DVD came along, and that was superior technology, how it would negatively hit the VHS tape industry. In the same way, there's a number of companies in the S&P 500 that are going to be negatively hit. Now, the other thing you should know about that is when you have companies that are going down, like Sears did as a retail outlet from being a behemoth, the S&P, the people that put together these indexes, will kick companies out and bring in the newer companies that deserve to be in there at that time. So the S&P 500, I want you to know, is not a static index, nor is the NASDAQ for that matter. So there's one more clip here about boom and bust, and Cathy Wood talks on this.
All of these technologies causing booms in part of the economy, but depressions in other parts of the economy. So again, lots of confusion, great time to be an active manager.
So, that's the point I want to drive it home. And again, this is when I'm talking about Humbl, when I'm talking about this revolutionary change, when I'm talking, most of my videos they're different than a lot of other gurus, because the other gurus are, here are the five stocks I'm buying this week and they're going to go up 100%. I don't do that. Okay. I don't do it because not only is it not my style, but I want you to know that predominantly you get wealthy by buying and holding and keeping tabs of the story. Knowing the context of your times, what's happening in the big world, the context of your times. Part of it is political. We talk about money and politics as I look at my logo. Part of the context of our times is political. Part of it is technological. Part of it is medicine. It is the evolution of mankind, which has always been going on. We had the steam engine. We had the electricity being developed, the cars, etc. All the developments we know over the last 150 years. We can really help the world grow wealthier, the entire world grow wealthier. We have done that in the United States over the last 150 years or so, which is why we were always, or have been for a very long time, wealthier than other nations because of our technology, because of our productivity. And all of that, by the way, to insert a little bit of politics, is because of our freedom. When you have a nation that welcomes someone like Elon Musk, and look what he has done with his brain power, PayPal, and now Tesla, and SpaceX, we allow the dynamos of entrepreneurship to come to this country and be free to invest and build. Apple is another one, of course, Microsoft. And that's what they're doing is helping all of us. I think Humbl is part of that story. I want to cover the story of Humbl. One of the viewers was chastising me, saying, you shouldn't be talking about other companies. Well, I want to talk about other companies because that's also part of the world, right? That's part of the context of our times. I'm not here to talk just about one company. I'm going to talk about all of them. I knew this would be a long segment, but I want you to know a little bit more than maybe what you knew before, and that it's not just my idea, it's what Cathy Wood is seeing. And I hope that you kind of think of looking at right here, 2021, 2022, these times in your life. Imagine that you are an historian from 100 years from now and looking back. And what would that historian be pointing to as the developments that changed the world in terms not of war or pestilence, but of technology, of those changes, and certainly the transformation from analog money, paper money, to digital currencies, to bringing that technology, to interconnecting the world. What we are doing, what Humbl is doing, is as powerful right now, as the telephone wiring people together around the world was 100 years ago. So that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen, on this weekend as we are going towards Palm Sunday and then Easter the following week. I hope you're going to be safe this weekend. Have a great time. Hopefully we can all be freed of this COVID thing in short order. But I thank you for always watching. Thank you for your comments. Let me know what you think in your comments. Hopefully this hits. Hopefully you got something out of it. And as always, I appreciate your comments. I'm thinking what I need to do in closing. One last thought. There's so many different stocks that you've asked me about. I've addressed a little bit of them, but not nearly enough. So I think what I might need to do is here and there maybe have a new stock Saturday edition or something like that, where I can go over a handful of these stocks you asked me about. In any event, would you like, and if you haven't signed up as yet and subscribed, please do. If you think others would benefit from watching this, please share the videos. And until next time, we will see you. Have a great weekend, everyone.